What are power and will to a bee? In a moral society, we're supposed to give up some of our power and our will to the group, the group to which we belong. But what are power and will to a bee? How can this relate to them? Well, what are power and will to us? One would be, in the context of natural living or whatever, would be the ability to build a dwelling, the ability to acquire resources, the ability to defend those resources, ability to acquire nutritional needs, the ability to attract mates, and the ability to provide for yourself and your family. Those are the powers that you have when you're in a natural state. Will, you have the will. Modern human societies, we have a will to acquire wealth. We have a will for political power, social status, personal possessions, our physical appearance, good health, personal experiences, and these are all social surrogates for reproduction. We've transformed the will to reproduce, which is the primordial will that transcends through all living things. We've transformed those into these surrogates that we now pursue as a surrogate to that, to reproduction. Power is a lifetime workload capacity when you look at power. We tend to partition it when we're studying animal behavior and whatnot into components such as reproductive effort, parental investment, resource acquisition, defense, etc. Power and will to a bee, what are they? Power, ability to build a nest, ability to acquire resources, ability to defend your nest and your resources, ability to acquire nutritional needs, ability to attract mates, ability to provide for yourself and your family. Very similar to the kinds of powers that we potentially have. And the will is to reproduce. That's it. The will is to reproduce. All of these activities you do in some way lead to reproduction, or those activities wouldn't exist, because those individuals who have the right kinds of behavior, use their power in the right way, will out-survive and out-reproduce those that don't. And so the behavior that they use to acquire that will spread in the population. It's called evolution. Thing to remember, too, is that humans have about 100 billion neurons in the brain. Bees have about 900,000. So, we can convert our will into these surrogates because we can think about them, whereas bees don't have the neurons to where they're going to be thinking in the context that we would think. So these concepts, as we view them, are really very anthropocentric concepts. They're concepts that we have, but of course bees don't have. What natural rights do bees give up? So, power and will. What power do we give up? We relinquish much of our power of self-defense and defense of property to the state police. We aren't out arming barbed wire around our houses and sitting out there with machine gun nests to defend our things. We depend on the police. Our society is supposed to provide that kind of a defense for us, of our person and our property. We relinquish many of our resources to the state. We pay taxes. So we give them some resources, and we're getting back these protections that we no longer do where we would have if we were living in a primitive state, in a natural state. We expect them to do it, and we pay for it. We relinquish our ability to survive, our survival instinct. We give up some of that to the state or the country because we may be called upon to defend it. And so we answer that call, we defend our country. We may end up sacrificing our lives to defend our country. We relinquish personal freedoms for the good of the society. So we have public health mandates. Those are things we follow because even though we feel we have a right not to, we don't. We follow those because this is something that we do for society. Enforced educational systems. We have educational systems, and you have to get educated. Your children have to go to school some way. So, we adhere to those kinds of mandates. Vehicle operation regulations, licensing requirements for certain activities, etc. What about bees? What power do they give up? Much the same. We can go down the list and we can see that they give up many of the same in order to live in the society. What will do we give up? We relinquish much of our personal will to that of the majority. We vote, then we support the majority decision. At least that's the way it's supposed to work. And bees don't vote. They're not a democracy. They transfer their reproductive rights to other individuals. And that's the key. Reproduction is transferred to the queen. In the case of the honeybee, workers are facultatively sterile. They can still reproduce. They can, in fact, go against the general will of the group, which is that workers don't reproduce, queens do, and they can reproduce on their own. But they pay the price to do that, which we'll talk about in a minute. Termites. Termites, huge queen. She lays millions of eggs over her lifetime. The workers are not capable of reproducing. When the main queen dies, in fact, some of the developing immatures can develop into reproductives. They become supernumerary reproductives, males and females, kings and queens. So you may end up with several different supernumerary reproductives that continue the colony itself. But still, it's very limited. Only some are being able to reproduce, and most of them don't. And, of course, there's the stingless bees we saw the film of. This is a queen. You can see how large she is relative to the workers. She does the majority of the reproduction. And this beautiful queen right here is a weaver ant. And this is a weaver ant worker, which doesn't reproduce.